Welcome everyone, back again for another product review. So today I am reviewing MIG Ammo acrylic concrete for dioramas, as you can tell because it says on the label. So I'm comparing it a little bit to the Citadel, their version of it. It's the Astro Granite. So you can tell straight away, yes, it's a slightly different colour, but I do like to put a wash on it to make it look a bit more grimy. Whereas when I put a wash on this, it's a bit too dark. But if you like that kind of level of colour, they also do the asphalt texture, which is very, very, very similar to this. Yes, they do some other, as you can tell here, they do beach sand, light earth, dark mud, and muddy ground, which are each slightly different. But this particular one is a light concrete, so it dries quite light. So if you want to use it for concrete, brilliant. If you want to use for rocks, yes, you have to put a wash on it to make it a bit darker. It's not a problem. But if I wanted an exact replacement for this, I would probably go for the asphalt. It's slightly darker, but it dries pretty much the same as does this. It's got fantastic texture and it's really quite hard when it goes off, which is great. So less likely to chip, less likely to break or fall off, and it really does adhere to bases. It's a fantastic product. But the only reason I am reviewing it against this product is not slamming it at all. It is a fantastic product and it's great for putting on your bases. But if you want to use something for dioramas or big pieces of terrain, you know, sometimes that could get a bit costly because it's about £4.50, £4.75, something like that. It's just under a fiver for 24 millilitres, whereas this is 250 millilitres and it's about twice the price, so it's £10. So obviously prices vary, but it's approximately, let's say, 10 times the size for twice the price. So it's pretty much a no-brainer like that. I mean, I'm not slamming this at all. This is a fantastic product, but if you're using it en masse, this will go a long way. It's brilliant. So rather than my personal opinion, why not see how it gets on? So I am going to now take you to the hobby desk, and then you can see it in action. Okay, so here's my base that I want to apply this stuff to. So what I've done is I've just had quite a large base, stuck a couple chunks of cork on like most people do, and they normally paint up like that and leave it like that, which is fine, but you can kind of tell it's cork, which is fine if you want to go and do a volcanic base. Cork is a pretty good texture for volcanic rock, but for regular rock I find it's not the best. So I've got a good old brush here, fairly wide. I've got no nails though, so I can't pick up the base. There we go, that's easy. And I'm just going to allow this stuff on. Reasonably thick, but not crazy thick. So as you can tell, you get rather a lot in a pot. 250 ml goes a long way, so this should last me a long time. And I like to put this stuff on fairly thick anyway. But as you can tell straight away, it's looking less like cork. And when this stuff dries, you know, it will dry hard enough that it should really seal it in there and it will last, you know. Take a few knocks. I'll show you in a minute one that's previously gone off hard. There's a joke there somewhere. So like Blue Peter, I've set it all up, so I've already got one previously made. And I'm just slapping it on. So this is an incredibly large base, but I want to show you what this stuff can do. So you get the gist now. I'm really going to work it in underneath all those corky bits. Seal any gaps. So this is great for removing gaps as well. So if you've got a couple on your base there, it'll fill it right in, not a problem. So I'll finish this off and I'll show you what it looks like when it's gone off. Okay, so while that's drying, and it dries reasonably fast for what it is, these are a few bases that I've done recently. So same effect, just some rough bits of cork, and I've just quickly splattered it on. And can you hear that? That's how hard it dries. So cork normally doesn't sound like that. And I've just put it roughly on the base there, so it's not perfectly smooth, it's just slightly rough ground. So obviously these models aren't finished, but that's just an example. And a little bit more extreme, I've put some higher cork, really quite a large base there. Made it look like this guy is jumping off, a bit more cinematic. Once again, same effect. Because I was piling quite a few chunks of cork on, there was little gaps, so I've smeared the stuff all the way around, and you can see all the gaps now have disappeared. There is no gaps at all on the rock. So it's thick enough to remove any gaps, quite a few millimeters thick. Once again, hard, not likely to chip. You can see it's darker because I've put a wash on it. But you can paint it however you like. So if you leave it as is, it looks very much like concrete. Hence, that's why, funny enough, it says concrete on the pot. So directions for use, obviously you've seen how, I'll turn my light off here, you don't need to see all that glare there, do you? So it says acrylic concrete with realistic varied texture, ready and easy to use. Apply textures to large surfaces such as dioramas, wooden bases or cork to create an authentic textured effect. This product can be thinned and tools cleaned with water, non-toxic and odorless, dries completely within 24 hours. So yes, it does go off within 24 hours, but I find it's reasonably easy to paint within 12 hours. So obviously on the box, or bottle even, or tub, whatever you want to call it, it does say can be thinned with water. Because if you want to have a relatively smooth surface, so you have your flat base. So let's grab another random miniature, because obviously I have hundreds of these next to me at any given time. So completely flat base, nice base from Games Workshop here. And if you wanted to make it look like concrete, like you're standing on a slab of the stuff, so in my opinion, just thin it out very slightly and smear it over, because then it gives a nice rough-ish texture. So if you use sand, obviously it could quite often look like sand rather than concrete. Unless you've got like chinchilla sand, really fine gauge sand like that. But, sand, is quite granularly. And, like, if his hand is 5mm, and then a grain of sand is like 1mm, it's going to be quite large in his scale. If this was a real dude, that's quite a large chunk of something. So, this stuff is ultra fine. If you thin it out a bit of water, spread it on, it looks more like concrete and will go a lot further. But like I said, it's a hell of a tub. 250 is quite large, So I've used quite a bit already in the tub. I've done a couple of large bases like you've already seen. A couple have already done 6 large bases, same size as what you've already seen. And I've done probably about 20 32mm bases. So that's quite a lot already I've used, and there's a lot left. So we'll wait a little bit for this stuff to dry, and if you want to speed it along, we could always use a hairdryer or something like that, but just be a bit careful. Right, we'll come back when it's drying. So it's been a couple of hours, and it is reasonably dry, so you can hear that it's pretty crispy. That's good enough for me to airbrush anyway and get on with the next stage. But yeah, you can leave it 24 hours and it'd be funny hard, giggly. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty good now. If you want to speed up the time, you could always use a hairdryer. Yeah, that's right, I don't have a lot of hair, but I do have a hairdryer. And yeah, you can go over it again if you want to make the edges look less obvious. But I imagine this like slate kind of stuff. So with cork, it looks a bit too obvious it's cork. With this stuff, it kind of takes the majority of the edge away. So, looks pretty damn good. Good texture, nice feel to it. Yeah, really happy with it. Like I said, if I wanted to make more like rounded stones, I'd probably sand it off a bit first. Then I would put this stuff on, or maybe put 2 coats on, depends how I'm feeling. But yeah, didn't want this to be too bumpy because it's quite a wide thing that goes on here. So obviously this is the thing that's got to go on there. Don't make it too bumpy because obviously the legs won't balance, but do what you like with it. It's fantastic stuff, it really is. I mean, that's hard, that's going to protect the cork, even if you don't really want to change the texture that much. It just stops it from chipping. So I will get the good old trusty airbrush on it and blast over it. So good old compressor is going. I've mixed up some grey, but obviously you don't have to have grey. Rocks are all wonderful different colours. So you could have some greens in there, some browns in there, all sorts. Trying to get in all the little nooks and crannies. As you can see, this stuff paints fine. I mean, you could always rattle can it as well, it doesn't react or anything. Just putting down 2 thin coats, which is quite a light colour. I mean, you could always throw some washes over it, that looks great as well. The bit there that I've missed, or you think I've missed with concrete, is actually where one of the legs are going to go for my walker on here. So I missed it for a reason. Thinking ahead. Alright. So yeah, I'm going to go over this a couple times and then we're going to come back and I'm going to dry brush it, and then it shows out all the lovely detail. Okay, once dry, you want to start dry brushing, bring out some of the details. So what I'll do here is I'll have a tile and a relatively large stiff brush. You can tell this one's been well abused. It's my terrain brush. I do not use this for miniatures, I swear. So a little bit on the palette, work it in, maybe a tissue just to wipe off the excess. Next we start gently dry brushing it. So I like to do dry brushing in 2 stages. So the first one is quite a heavy dry brush, which means you pick out quite a lot of the detail. And the next one, probably a bit too heavy there, just the utmost edges. So quite heavy, picking up all the edges. And later on I'll go over it nice and light, or even lighter colour, only picking up the detail. With this you want to show all the rocks. For the next one you just want to show the detail on the rocks, if that makes sense. So you can see what I mean now. It's starting to pick up. Don't worry about the edges, we'll paint the edges as the final piece when it's all done. Okay, I'll carry on with this and come back at the next. Next I like to do the utmost highlight, so I'm going to use white this time around. So any white pretty much will do, whatever your favourite white is. Wipe it off a little bit in the palette, and this is going to be a very, very light dry brush, so this is only the topmost detail. Remember, if you think grey is boring for rocks, use any colour you wish. So as you start colour, maybe drop a bit of green or brown in. So with this now, you should be able to see those kind of areas with this super light dry brush. So there's hardly anything on my brush at all. Just like that. So it's really starting to come alive. And just to finish it off, add a few little tufts of grass, so different little sizes, adding a few little tufts of grass randomly. So I'm going to put a couple next to each other in the middle and cut up different sizes. So I like to stick them by rocks, so look like they're growing out the little crevice between the rock and the cracked ground. So any sections you think you may have missed, it's always a good place to put a bit of grass, but I think there was a really good coverage. So I'll just plonk a little bit more in there. And there you have it, a very basic base, true, but you can always add a dead body or two in there, maybe a bit of dirt here and there as well. But what do you think? So this is the concrete texture, but you can use it as rock or you can use it as concrete. You can see on the flatter areas what the kind of texture would be if you wanted to use it on, let's say, a cork wall to make it look more like a concrete wall, maybe a concrete barricade. But yeah, really happy with this product. It goes so much further than the Citadel one, and it's a very affordable price. So yeah, please check it out. MIG Concrete. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Please hit that like button, and please subscribe. See you soon.